Right, this week I've been asked to make a handle for this, which is an auger for drilling holes in the ground for putting stakes and trees in. And unfortunately the people that bought it with the wrong fitting here. So we need to make a fitting, which is probably going to be this piece of bar, and then something to hold a handle on top of it, and then something to make a handle out of. And we'll have it quite large because it's you want to put a reasonable amount of force through it. So okay, so the reason this didn't fit in the other machine that you'll see in a bit at some point is that the machine had a splined shaft to it, and this has got a smooth bore and a pin through it, so it didn't fit. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this, and so not this end, but this end that's been turned down a little bit seems to fit pretty well. There's no, I'd like a little bit of a step there to stop it going all the way in, but and so one of these isn't round, and I suspect it's this. So what we're going to do is we're going to mark and drill a hole so we can put the pin through it. Okay, so when drilling on round bar, particularly any round bar, it's really good to have a little divot to get the drill bit started, otherwise it just tends to skitter off on either direction. And I may still do this. Ideally you'd be doing this in a drill press, but I can't be bothered to change the mill over, because my mill and lathe are all in one. So we're going to do it with this, but we're still going to need a little bit of cutting fluid. So we've got to make this pin fit through this hole. I started with a slightly smaller diameter drill bit than what I suspect it's going to be, and this one's the next size up. This is 6mm, so we'll work our way through with that. That's the 6mm done, and now we need an 8. Okay, and so this one should be close or slightly bigger than that pin. With a little bit of wiggle. Makes it easier to get in and out. Right. Next there, and then that goes through there, and that's going to give us a really good connection that barely wobbles. There's a little bit of turn in it so that you can pull the pin and pop the pin out, take that out if you want to. Okay, so the next stage of my cutting plan is to clean this up because it's a bit sharp on the ends, but also to weld that to there. So we're going to trim this a bit shorter, and then we're going to put a little bald patch here so that we're going to get the galv off it, because we don't want galv in our weld, or zinc in our weld, and then we will weld it on. Ah, f it. Right, so I cut this. I forgot to hit record. The next thing we're going to do is, for welding this onto here, we need to get rid of the scale. And we also ideally need to take a bit out of the middle, because you see how the edges don't touch? It'd be nice if they touched all the way around, so when we weld it, we can weld in one seam without having any big gaps to fill. So we're just going to do that. I'm going to move the camera a bit further away. I don't want to get metal fibres in the camera. Right, so this bit's ready to go. It's got this little scoopy bit at the top. It's got the hole in the bottom. I've cleaned the scale off. Before we start, we're going to wipe everything down with like a spirit solvent to get any oil off this, because I put oil on this before starting. And next we are going to grind the ends on this flat and grind a bit of zinc off. And I'm going to have a face mask on for this because zinc is really nasty. I'll probably have it on for a little bit afterwards just to make sure the room's clear of it before I start breathing room air in again. So, I'm going to clamp it up to make sure it's the right angles, but effectively, this is what we're dealing with. Just got to do the welding thing. I don't know if you can actually hear me through this mask. Left a wee bit of oil on there. Oops. So the next bit, now that we've got that bit cooling outside, is to get this piece of oak into a usable sized handle. So I've put the really coarse blade on here, and we're going to rip it down to quarters, because that's all we actually need, or into half, and then one of the halves into 2 quarters. But I can't move this any further because one of the wheels has collapsed, and so it's going to be that. So we have 10% battery, so let's do this quickly. Okay, so I accept that this is a far from ideal setup, but I can't actually move this anywhere at the minute. So we're going to make do. I should have enough room, but first of all we've got to make this round. So let's get this going. Nice and slow to begin with, in case it decides to wag off and hit me in the face. so hopefully the last bit, let's get this secure in here. Last bit before finishing anyway. So this end, is it this end? Or this end? This end slides in easier initially but gets fatter here. There are only slight differences, but this end's fatter at the beginning, but by measurement it's thinner here. So we're going to persist and a bit of a, trying to get this bit between these two lines. And it turns out I can measure. We have a handle. Here I'm just going to put on some galvanized paint to help cover up all the bare steel areas on the handle so it doesn't rust quite so readily. So pop this out, do this, line it up with the hole. Slip this through here. Put the retaining clip back on, and then that's nice and tight, and it's done. Now all I need is daylight to test it. Right, so we're going to dig a hole and see if we don't hit any concrete this time. See how deep we can go. Oh, found something concretey again. Cool, I'd say that's pretty effective. So if you like this sort of thing and you want to see me make and repair more random things, then please remember to subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time.